Imagine being able to give up the 9 to 5 by age 30. Well, Steve Palise did just that. He built a property portfolio of 9 properties, and he's now the founder of Palise Property, a leading Australian property buyers agency. He's got a background in engineering. He helps investors all across Australia build passive income, which we'll talk about. We'll joke about that a little bit later. But Steve, thanks for coming on the show, man. Appreciate having you here.
Happy to be here, man. Let's do it.
Cool. So before I get started, why don't you tell us, the embarrassing part of like a little bit about yourself and, just fill in any gaps that people should know about you.
So academic, like got 99.5 in high school. Didn't want to be a doctor or a lawyer, so chose engineering. So did robotics engineering.
You're not Pakistani, by the way, are you? Because that's what the careers we're allowed: doctor, lawyer, or engineering.
I just got it because, like, literally, I went to a selective school, and everyone kind of chooses based on what score they got.
Right.
And I looked at it, and I was like, I don't really want to memorize and do the doctor thing. Didn't really like the lawyer thing. I could have done like actuary studies, which is like the high level maths, which is a career that you earn really good money with. But it's like, it's not exciting. I wanted to do something that was cooler. So I was like, I'll do robotics. I'll design robots, which it kind of was. I designed like robotic limbs and stuff. That was my first job. And then like some medical equipment. Then realized it's just coding, sitting behind a computer all day, every day. And I've been too social for that. Then sold my soul and went and worked in mining. So started designing mine sites, which paid better. And then, was building a portfolio beside that. And then literally after my first property, I was like, I'm making more money from this property than I'm bloody working. And then I was like, cool, let's buy another one. And then just kept doing, and then found I had a passive income. We'll get back to that word, of pretty much like 3/4 of my salary at the time. And I was like, okay, maybe I should just do this full time. And then, left and joined a buyer's agency, worked there for 5 years, and then started my own thing.
And that's what the business does now. It helps people do that very same thing.
Basically emulate what I did, but now is hopefully I've got 2,000 acquisitions on my belt and primarily focus on commercial as well, but resi is what gets you there.
I love what you said to me, and this essentially the first business lesson is how you literally gave away and give away everything for free. So if someone really wanted to, they don't even have to pay you. They could literally get your book for free, watch all your videos, etc., etc. And I think it's really funny, like people talk about this all the time, but everyone is still so scared to do that. Why has that been a good strategy for you?
I haven't known any different. That's the thing. So everyone, like small business, so they put stuff through a paywall. They give you like 20%. They're like, to get the rest, or it's like to get the hot in property, it's always a hot spot. Like we tell our clients where we buy. You listen to my podcast, I'll tell you exactly where we're buying, what we're buying. You go to our website, see what properties we bought. The thing, especially with commercial, is it's actually hard. Like you got to do 20, 30 hours work on a property before you can say it's a good one. So I give it out there, and then most people look at that and go, this is really hard. I'm going to get Steve to do it. You made a good point though. People do literally, like, because I've got a 10-hour course that literally steps you through how to do it. I get messages weekly of like, oh, thanks, Steve, did your course and got the confidence to buy a commercial property myself. Thanks. And I still get to feel good at that. That still actually works bringing in leads though, because then they tell their friends, and the friends are time poor. They don't want to do the same thing. Then they come to me anyway. But we also joked off air, like, I also don't care. I don't necessarily want to be a billionaire or anything. If I get value and I get a feel good, but it does. The more eyes you get on you, obviously, the more leads are going to come in and talk to you.
Yeah. There's I think it's whatever the opposite of abundance mindset is, like scarcity mindset. Like when brands don't want to do that, we'll give it away for free. They don't need to pay us.
I don't think the offering is strong enough then. Like I could probably do my own plumbing, but I know that the guy who's been doing it for 10 years is going to do a better, faster job. Like I could definitely just go watch some YouTubes and work out how to change a pipe. But I value their experience, and that's why you use services. So I'd actually say it's the people that don't like believe in themselves or have the experience that have to do that. If you give it off a value, and like we'll talk about this, but like my sales calls are completely different now because the knowledge is there. It's how can we help you, not what do we do to help you.
Yeah, got you. And what's really interesting about that strategy, and it's so funny because you were telling me about this before, like you don't strike me as a person who sort of like went and followed all these marketing frameworks and principles. Although when I hear you talk, it's like my brain, because I'm a marketer, I'm retrofitting it to all these principles I've learned. The whole thing, like giving value, like Gary Vee talks about it.
To put in perspective, I didn't know about any of these marketing people until about 2 years ago. And I've been doing this for 10 years.
Like,
all I knew, I just treated it like engineering. And like the biggest feedback I get from my books, I got 3 books now, is it's like a textbook. They're like, it's dry, it's harder to read, but people are just like, I can't believe you gave the value. Most people fluff things up. They like tell a big long, you've seen, like, you can listen to a podcast and most of the time you only get like one little snippet out of it. Like, oh, that's some value there. My commercial podcast, every episode, like, we're literally behind the scenes, we've got our book and it's like, okay, we're doing a podcast on leases. How do we get as much value in this conversation as we can about leases? So I find, like, I try to compress things as opposed to waffle on, and I get told that I'm straight to the point.
You know, and you'll have to excuse me, you did it intuitively. I've done it by learning marketing, but they call like that the hub and spoke strategy, where you might have a book and then each of those chapters, you can turn that into something. So I think that is also, like, whether it's a book I might ask you about this later, the time commitment of a book, but you can have anything as a hub and spoke. Like, we'll do these podcasts. We'll obviously have the snippets. We'll take some of the snippets, turn them into article ideas. And it's not just an article with the podcast bloody copied and pasted. It's using that subject matter material, but that's essentially a hub and spoke strategy. So you do that with podcasting. Like, you're literally, like, you don't have to come up with new crap all the time. You just look in the book and that's what we're going to focus on.
Yep. I didn't do it consciously. It was literally just like, wrote a book. It was like, cool, now I'm going to do a podcast. Let's kind of make actually, I'll lie. It started kind of like, so my book publisher was like, I think we need to do an audiobook of this because you miss anything, but your book's too dry to do an audiobook because it is literally like a textbook. You want to learn about how to do the due diligence. There's 30 pages of what you need to cross-check.
Right.
I can't sit there reading checklists of what need to thing. So I was like, cool, I'll get a co-host and we'll make it conversational about how it is. So we kind of did that. Then I learned that some people don't actually like you've got the written, you've got the podcast. Some people need the visual. So I was like, the only way to fill the visual in is I need to make like a course. So I turned the book into an interactive course showing you how to actually use the spreadsheets and where to physically like check on the government websites and do credit history checks. And that way I've kind of covered all mediums, like whatever type of person they're educated and you want to be taught to, you can choose the one that listens. And most people like podcasts on the drive to work. Other people on the Christmas break read the book over the thing, and other people actually want to see the nuts and bolts of this is how you actually do it, which you can't get in a podcast.
I think one of the things we see in our space a lot, people are so scared to cover the same ground. I heard a quote recently, like, education is often about like re-education as opposed to new education. How have you found that? Because what you've explained is like you are actually like educating people on the same thing again and again, which is really important to be an SME in that, a subject matter expert in that. So like, is that what you found to be the case?
It's funny you say, because my social media team, because I'm like, what do we need to do now? Because I kind of feel like I've said everything, but then I'll do like a video, which is almost identical to one I did 6 years ago, just of like, oh, this is what you need to know to build a passive income, whatever. And then it still performs really well. And I'm just like, why didn't they just watch the first one? But you realize you have to just keep doing the same thing over, effectively saying the same 30 things over and over and over in a different way, just to different people.
And we can't be scared of that.
Yeah.
Like the idea is double down on what works. Like you and I were talking about Alex Mosey before this. It's the same. There's probably like 4 buckets he always talks about. And he's even spoken about that too. He goes like, people think that I've spoken about this. Oh, now I need to talk about something new. But then you talk about something new. They came back for the thing they originally listened to. So they want more of that. So if you talk about, the myth of passive, although we've got to talk about that in a second now. We've said it 3 times, but passive income, like they want to keep hearing that. So
that's why they're watching me. They're not watching me for gym advice. They're watching me to get that recurring kind of feedback loop. The same thing goes for, I follow a lot of fitness influencers. They're not telling me anything groundbreaking, but you're kind of watching the same thing over as like a weird reminder. But again, I think if you've got the basis of 80% is the core, the extra 10% is how you do the flare. So like Alex Hormozy will do the same thing, but he'll do a live call with someone being like, oh, this is my business, my problem. Then he just on the spot applies the principles to that person.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, that makes sense. So if you're, a tradie and he's talking to a tradie, you're like, I can apply that. Whereas I'm not. I'm a service-based business, but I'm not a physical service-based business. I'm a knowledge service. So I need to listen to the person who's got the knowledge-based system. How do I do that then as well? And that's where I think the little kind of tangents can help.
Yeah. It reminds me, I was speaking, a shout out to AIM Visuals shooting this, but Fung's brother, Jay, who's pretty much a watch influencer now. And I was talking to him today, and he was talking about the fact that we're talking about this re-reminder concept. You have to re-remind people. And he's like, man, it's so true. Because I did a live and people are asking me the stuff that I always talk about. And in the back of my head, I'm like, why are they asking me this?
Yep.
And that's another idea or tactic, like doing these lives. Like, I mean, folk, don't listen to me. Do what's working for you. But I guess the point is, like, when you do like a live, you realize you actually get better content because they ask it in their dumbed down version.
Funny you say this. So I did a webinar a couple of months ago, like the first one ever, and I actually got a few hundred people turn up. But they were already, the reason they knew about the webinar is because it was on my EDM, so my mailing list. So they already follow me, and that means they've already got the book or listened to something. And like the feedback, I got hundreds of comments. Oh, it was awesome seeing them. Like, I literally just said the same thing I've been telling you guys for years. Like, but again, different medium, different way you kind of approach it. It feels more real, a bit more interactive. Like we could have done this on Zoom, but it somehow works better in person.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, all right, let's jump around a little bit. And I think this is really much related to the way you do content. Like the thing that I really like about your content is it's quite authentic. Like you are you. You don't have this veneer or whatever. Like you're the same. And I'm the same when I'm on stage or off stage or on camera. I try to be this. I will just say less F words and S words. Yeah. But apart from that, I try to be exactly the same. So you told me you once rocked up to a meeting with the director of Aldi in shorts and a t-shirt. Jokes aside, talk about being your authentic self and like how that's. I know you've just done it natively because you just haven't given a damn. But how have you, if you had to like analyze that, how's that helped you in business being your authentic self?
There's probably a few points to touch on there, and I mentioned like off air, like when I first got into real estate, I did the whole suit thing, got the haircut, and was doing all the schmoozing kind of thing. But I knew in myself, you get that weird little pit sinking feeling of like I'm playing make believe here. This isn't me. And it's because you kind of you think like, oh, that's what wealthy people do. I'm going to be that. But I grew up in Western Sydney in Wentworthville in a 2-bedroom house. Like I got two older brothers, like 3 kids in a 2-bedroom house. Like we're not fancy. So I was thinking as soon as I stripped that back, I was like, let's just actually just be relaxed and enjoy myself. People are open to that, and they trust you more as well. You can normally smell a rat 1,000 miles away. If someone's like really pushing an agenda, weirdly, like I don't know what you call it in sales. You probably know better. Like I call it like the take the ball away effect. So my 2-year-old daughter, if she's not playing with something, I'll literally go grab it and go to pack it away. And she's like, no, I want the ball. And you're like, oh, okay. Yeah. So it's kind of, I use the same analogy in sales, because if a client's like been a bit of a dick to me, or you don't think it's right for you, like, oh, look, so mate, like, it don't seem like we're a good fit. All the best with your investing, yada, yada. And I kind of do the fake ball takeaway. Yeah. It's not fake because I'm actually willing to walk away. And then they all of a sudden the respect, no, I want to work with you, Steve. And it changes. So I think that comes from confidence. And this is probably the hard thing. I think like, you're asking me now when I've, in quotations marked, made it. Like I've earned good money, got a big portfolio. It's easy to say, but at the start, I definitely still had those, like that anxiety of like playing the part that you're not actually should be doing.
And pleasing.
Yeah, but every first business owner has to do that, because they don't feel like, unless you've done the exact same business elsewhere for 10 years and you're going on your own, you don't actually have the runs on the board to actually talk about what you're doing. That's what Alex Hormozy says, is like, do the cool shit first, then monetize it. I was kind of lucky. I worked in real estate for 5 years, had a big portfolio, kind of seen more than 99% of people. So I'm like, anyone I'm talking to, I know more than you. You can think you know more than me, but I've done 2,000 deals, and you just get this weird, quiet confidence. But come back to that outfit, like you can see what I'm wearing now, hat backwards and stuff. I just dress how I normally want to dress. Yeah.
You said this concept earlier. I literally call it willing to walk away, the concept that you speak about. And actually, let's use that to talk about sales for a moment, because we talk about that, like the willing to walk away, like when someone kind of, I was talking about this to new sales guy I hired, and we were doing a role play on, it was actually a real role play. Like someone said to me, we have a product we sell for 20 grand. And the customer said, he's a customer now. He said, oh, your competitor charged 5K. Yeah. Right. And you have to meet people where they are. It's like mirroring, right? Like if there's like a, 20-something-old marketing woman just started, I wouldn't say this to her, but this was a tough Australian but ethnic background, like tough, kind of almost threatening like type of nature, right? But he's not. That's just the way he communicates. So I just like laughed in his face, actually, because I didn't know, like, I'm like, that's the only response I can give you. And I said, look, mate, what was the next quote underneath me? He's like 15K. I'm like, look, it's really up to you. And that's the willing to walk away part that you speak about. Like, if you wanted, you've already tried this before. If you want to get the same thing you always got, keep doing the same thing.
Yeah.
It's really up to you. And then from there, I spoke about who do you feel is more confident to hit your needs. And in sales strategy, they talk about like trust and safety. So those two things. So the willing to walk away concept, I think it's, people often ask, is it a line or when do you do it? But I feel like you'll agree, like it's something that's always there. It's almost like a mentality.
Yeah, it's so hard at the start though, when you're living paycheck to paycheck and you need that. And I found that the hard way. Like the few times I've had really troublesome clients, they were troublesome from the start and I should have walked away, and I knew I should have walked away, but I stayed in it for the money. And then the times I've given a discount, so now I just don't discount at all. I've just learned it's like if they're getting a discount at the start, they're going to be a pain in the ass. I can ask the whole way through. But all the people you give a discount to are the people that will sort of kind of like milk you for everything, and then at the end still try to get more off, and you're just like, nah, you got to do the walk away. But like you said, it's not fake, the real walk away.
Yeah, I think you set your own condition too, because the sales guy I was talking, this scenario I was telling you about, I'm trying to be very careful I don't say people's names here, right? But he was he's saying to me, he goes, oh, maybe he actually probably went with you because you're the only one who kind of gave it back to him. And maybe he doesn't realize, but he actually wants someone who's going to be direct to him and not sort of cave. Because I feel like you can change that behavior. You're right. Like, I feel like if you give them a discount, they're going to expect that, and it's just subconsciously treat you that way. But that same person, either they're not going to be right fit, so you say go away from now, or because you didn't give them a discount the first time and they see your value, they won't do it again. So you can condition that behavior. Anything else on the sales front? I know you had some thoughts and comments on how you sell now, and
we're a bit different because, like you mentioned, we give everything away for free. So like we don't do any cold outreach at all. Like all of ours are warm, hot leads. They've literally inquired, being like, I want to chat, have a discovery call, have a roadmap session. So ours now, it's no longer about our service, which most sales trainers tell you that anyway. It's just them. It's like, where are you at now? Where do you want to be? What time frame do we want to do it in? And what do we have to work with the finance? And then the chat is literally just that. So we work out the start, we work out the end point. Then at the end, you weave in like, cool, this is what we need to do on property to get you there. And then that's the easy sell. So you no longer have to sell your services anymore. You're selling outcome.
You spoke about offline. You created a book because you want to get as much exposure as fast as possible. Would you still do that today? Would you do anything differently? Talk to us about that.
Probably not. I would put that down like to the pivotal thing, like that and my podcast and my course are the reason my company's my size it is today. And that's why we got like 22 staff. Whatever the revenue we're doing is because of that. I probably would have pushed harder in marketing. Like I just did it kind of like I slap up some organic posts, get my book for free kind of thing. I probably actually would have treated it a bit more seriously. But again, you didn't know what you didn't know. Like I was a one-man band.
We'll do that
working from a flat in the UK, trying to work out, even trying to see how to send the books out. Like my brother used to have piles of books in his lounge room with a little printing machine to put the little Australia postcode on it. Yeah. And then we started doing like 200, 300 a month. And he's just like, I can't do this anymore. Like, oh, now we've got to go to a warehouse and like do a pick and pull kind of situation.
So you discovered that industry. I didn't know that existed.
Yeah, exactly right. So, no, I just, like we keep mentioning, like I distribute back to like whatever industry and just give as much value as you can. And that can be through like content and reels and stuff, but it's got to be real value. It can't be like paywall, like, oh, click this form and watch this little video and you might find out and then we'll upsell you. I just find just give it out. You'll feel better.
Can I ask you about the mechanic of how you did the book strategy? Were you just like, and I don't know whether it was consciously or subconsciously, like, did you have a strategy or was it like, have the book for free, or all your posts were then like trying to push down towards, by the way, if you want my free book, like, what was the mechanic around the book?
So I started doing 50% off my book. I was like, just doing posts being like, oh, 50% off my book, click the link kind of thing, get it? Because I was in my head, I was like, oh, it'd be nice to get money. Then I kind of realized in the grand scheme of things, I'm a service that charges between typically like 20 grand and 150 grand. Why the hell am I trying to make 20 grand out of a book? So I found I was like, no, let's just say it's free. And full disclosure, like it cost me like, what is it, $8.90 or whatever to buy the book. And then the postage is like $6.50. So I
Like
charge
15, 16
so
bucks.
so I charge $10 postage. So it's costing me like $5 to get a book in someone's hands. That's not a bad click rate if you're doing an ad, like to get the physical thing that sits on their desk that they read and know about you. They're on the mailing list as well. So I was like, oh, this is still for free. Like this is just give it out for free and get away. And then it's worked. I've done 50,000 of them now. But you start doing the sums on that. That's still quite a lot of money I've had to put into it for $5 a book, kind of effectively.
When did you know that was yielding an ROI, and how long did that take?
It was kind of instantly per se, because I'd already worked in the industry for 5 years. I already had people that sort of like were periphery. I'd already done like 1,000+ deals with those things. So there was like maybe of that, a few repeats, so maybe 800 people that kind of knew who I was. So that was an easy like text message and be like, oh, there's a book kind of thing. I want to send it to you. So the leads sort of flew from there, but I'd found like probably 3-4 months in, I started getting like literally emails direct to me being like, Steve, love your bloody book. Can we have a chat? Can we do it? And it was just literally like, I went over to the UK thinking I'd do one deal a month, and at like 15, 20 grand a pop, I was like, it's not bad little life. I can keep traveling Europe, do that. And then within 3 months, I was getting like 5 to 10 inquiries a week and converting 50, 60% of them into clients. And I was like, oh shit, I've actually got a business here. Now I've got to worry about all the other stuff of hiring people, CRMs, this, doing the usual Google Sheets to manage everything.
Yeah.
And then it was like 50. I'm like, oh, I'm in a different world here.
What, as you were growing and scaling, because I feel like I went through this, and I feel like we keep going through these different levels, different devils. As you were scaling, how have you solved the challenge of, okay, well, now, Steve Palise can't do all these clients anymore, but it has to be true to your ethics, your strategy, your thinking, your smarts, and all of that. So as you've scaled, how have you made sure 2 things? 1, they don't just want you, and 2, that your team, you can scale that IP in your team?
I'll take a step backwards and just referring to like, remember I was saying I was like using Google Sheets, and then it's like getting HubSpot, the CRM. That was the next probably pivotal moment, because it's like, as I was in the UK working from 20 different countries, all my staff that I started hiring in Australia had to kind of know exactly what was going on with everyone. So I'm like, I need a good CRM, hence why I chose HubSpot, which was theoretically pretty much the most expensive one you could kind of get. And then this is where my engineering background came in, because I was design engineer. I could kind of like engineer the hell out of it to make it kind of somewhat good. And then one of my friends at the time who had a really successful business is like, Steve, my advice is when you're setting all this up, most people set it up for what they're kind of doing now, plus 25%. He's like, set it up like you're getting 100 clients a day. So literally just pretend you're the biggest company in the world. He's like, you'll feel silly at the start ticking all these boxes that you don't need to tick, because like when you're doing 10 clients a week, you can kind of remember people's names and all that. But he's like, no, treat it like a system. Then that gave me the capacity where it became a dial where I'm like, okay, the system's there. Now I just got to crank up the dial and get the staff to suit. But coming back to your question about how to keep the brand there, is just keep the quality there. Like, you can change all the sales processes and systems and stuff. All people really care is outcome. Like, there's stuff along the way like communication, which are important, but that's pretty easy to fix in the grand scheme of things. So all it has got to do with actual quality of property. And that's why, so my due diligence team, so put in perspective, I've got 4 acquisition people that find deals all day, every day. I got 5 due diligence staff, which is normally every other company's the other way around. They'll have like 10 sales staff and 2 people doing reports. So I've got like 3 fully qualified valuers, a guy who's been a property manager for 10 years in the team, my brother. That's where they draw the line. If they see a property and they go, no, this is crap, they call it, we crush. So we still crush in 1 in 5 deals, which is crazy that we've done.
You crush when you
crush. So like part of commercial is you buy a property, you get a due diligence clause, typically like 2 weeks. And that's where you do all the work. You do like the lease review, contract review, tenant interviews, road and traffic analysis, vacancy study, occupancy study, check service contracts, talk to town planners, property money, yada, yada. Like we compile like an 80-page report. Most other companies don't do that. They would give you like a 1-pager. So we do all that. But if we find an actual red flag, we crush the deal. So we say, no, we're not proceeding with this deal. They get their deposit back. They don't lose anything. They might have spent a little bit on build and pest inspection. We've lost 30 hours of staff costs to doing it, but that builds trust. As soon as you tell a client like, hey, I don't want to get paid 25 grand right now, they're like, you're looking out for me. And then the next deal is so much easier.
Yeah.
Like you send them the deal and straight away, like, is it a good deal? Yep. and they jump on it straight away. Whereas before that, you had to kind of work to get the sale.
Wow.
So for me, it's just quality. I want to sleep at night. I don't want to see people. I don't want to get a phone call from a client in 3 years' time being like, you financially ruined me. And
Yeah.
I know like my industry's got a bad name for a good reason. Most buyers agents don't care. It's all about turnover. But I believe you can actually have a business where you're the same, where you can actually give a good outcome and make money at the same time. Yep, probably won't be a billionaire from it, but don't have to be.
Yeah, no, I think you can, to be honest. I mean, like, it's so funny. I feel like some of the most authentic, honestly, who needs $1 billion? I'm like, seriously, like, 250 mil, 20 mil, like, do you know what I mean? Like, but I think the point there is, and I think any industry where there's money to be made has a bad name. Like, but what I really love about what you guys do is it's the whole, and I say this in a different way. Like, sometimes we'll walk into a deal. So we get a lot of the leads from HubSpot. We're a HubSpot partner. And some of the reps who just want a sale don't like working with me because I slow the deal down.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, well, they've got this integration and this system and this thing. In your world, there might be stuff that comes up in the feasibility or pest report or whatever. And I'm like, look, we can do it, but like, I suggest we actually do some more scoping. Sometimes it's free, sometimes it's going to be paid, and sometimes I don't like that because they need the deal. Like, they're working to that. So, but we sort of say to the client, look, you know, we can help you under these parameters. We probably can't help you under these parameters or in this time frame that you're trying to do. I'm really sorry. I can't remember when the clients sort of trusted us less after that and not wanted to work with us.
Again, but the word we keep using is value. You brought them some form of value. And even if you didn't get that sale, there will be a flow-on effect.
Absolutely.
The amount of times that like a client's like, oh, can you have a chat to my brother about property? And I have like an hour chat with him. And I'm like, you're not in a position to buy. Now, like, you need to go save, do this, and this.
Yeah.
I get a call from their mate or their mum being like, oh, cool, I've heard you had a good chat with Johnny. Like, can we have a chat? And you're like, okay, so it comes around.
So how do you, that whole thing, you'll do the study, you invest that time. And if it's not right, you'll actually walk away. And that little commitment fee doesn't cover the cost of your work.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. You've explained it to me. How do you communicate to customers that we actually don't have a conflict of interest? Like, we're the ones who are going to be doing all that, and then we're going to give you something, and it's going to help you identify whether it's good or bad. At the back of their mind, whether they say it or they don't, I'm sure some people do say it. How do you communicate to them that you don't have a conflict of interest in the way you do your business?
This probably comes back to how much value we give in regards to the course and that. And then part of our, like, when we do like the roadmap session and we talk to the client, we'll actually pull up a due diligence report and we'll show them like, hey, look, here's the red flags that will get pointed out to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't necessarily mean you'll like crush the deal. Sometimes it'll be, let's cop it on the chin. Other times it'll be, let's go for a price reduction. Other times it's like, no, we're not touching this. Let's crush it. But they kind of they cross check everything. I actually tell people as well, I say, don't trust us. We work in real estate, like we're getting paid a commission. Double check everything that we've sent you and make sure you're happy with it. But and again, this is the part of like giving so much value is our clients are different to the people who have just done ads. So like when people just do ads and they bring in someone cold, they have to build the trust throughout the whole process. Because I've already built the trust up front, I'm not really having that conversation, which is why we've got such a huge conversion rate. So it's kind of, Alex Hormozy talked about this. He's like, you build the brand all up the front, and then the last 2%, when you push them over the line, they're already there. So I think that's kind of why we do so well. The companies that are doing like ads, cold outreach, like that's a different grind, I think. Yeah, we've really got the trust already, which is quite nice.
I have to give you credit for a short that I created.
So
because I never actually had it. We just conversed by email. But I'd love to ask you about it. And in the video, I was using what you guys do as like a no-brain offer, right? So the idea was when someone comes into the bit, like you had 2 offers. You had like something for, I'm probably going to get the figures wrong, but like for example's sake, I don't know, 10K for this, but if you pay like a K more, you get this software versus that's valued at like $7,000. And I've seen them. It's like, it's a great software. Like it's not just a hacky pay an extra grand and give you a bloody template worth jack shit. It's like really, really good. And like the marketer in me sees that as like the no-brainer offer, like where you have 2 things, like one thing might be 5K, one thing's 7, but if you buy it for 7, you can get this thing out with so much value. So I'm like, oh, that's genius. I've got to do more of that myself. Talk to me about that, because I haven't had a chance.
So what I'm going to say, this is going to surprise you. I actually don't sell that quite a lot, and that's the value. So what I mean by that is because of what we were talking about, we offer like property planning, which is like this software where we run through your whole portfolio, put all your properties in, do all the forecasting and like plan your basically your wealth.
Yeah.
However, you get some clients and they come on board and you're like, I don't think you're a astute investor enough. You know what you're doing. I don't think you need to pay me this money for this property planning. So let's just leave that off. So I'd actually say like probably 50, 60% of the time, I'm actually telling the client they don't need it. And they actually take that as a positive. They're like,
Wow.
thanks. You're funny. If I was doing this naturally, and then we keep mentioning Hormozy because I've been listening for the last 6 months.
Yes.
He said, and I was doing this before I knew that it was a sales tactic.
Yeah.
He did it when he was selling supplements. So he'd actually be like, he's like, people will build trust if you're like, oh, you don't need to buy creatine off me. I have a 30% markup. Go down the road, you'll get it cheaper. And he'd like write up 3 or 4. And he's like, but these are the ones you need with me. And they guaranteed to buy it then. Whereas if you just give them a big list of 10, they're not going to buy all of them.
Wow. Okay.
So
it's like an anti-offer.
I push people out of it quite a lot. And again, there was no rationale at the time. It was literally like, I know what these 2 fees are. They were separate. I'm like, do you want that? And then I was just like, oh no, let's just sweeten the deal. Like give them a bit of discount because like bundling it effectively. And so I did it without thinking that consciously. But then the flow on, like I said, is you can actually push people out of it and they thank you for it.
Wow, that's awesome. I could talk to you all day. I've probably just got a few more personal questions for you and we'll wrap it up. Thank you for being so generous with your time already. It's like we said before, like hindsight's always 20/20. I think it doesn't matter how well you do anything, 5 years from today, you will look back and say, I would have done this differently, right? What advice would you give to yourself? Like if you were able to go back to yourself when you started, what advice would you give to yourself?
Oh, I probably would have started earlier. Like I knew when I was working for the other company, after a few years' time, I don't want to be part of this corporate anymore. Like, and I probably should have done it. But then like every other person, fear of like giving up a salary, starting from scratch. And then that's why we spoke about like what forced me to do that. And obviously it was like broken marriage, like got divorced. Mum was about to pass away and like kind of gave me the drive. So probably just give it a crack earlier on. Like I'm almost 40 now. Like, I was at the same point, I think, early 30s. I should have just done it then.
It's interesting. They talk about resilience and sometimes things can, I know it sounds really cliche, but they can make you or break you. But resilience is also, and I don't know if you've seen this same video, it's about like how quickly you can bounce back from it. And when you bounce back from it, is your baseline lower or higher? So I'm not blowing smoke, but what you've just explained, and I'm sure at the time you weren't thinking, I'm really resilient, but you went through something that can be quite traumatic, quite painful, obviously divorce, your mother's health. And I'm sure it really hit you, but like as some on the outside, someone analyzing it, like you bounced back quite quickly and it actually made you stronger. It didn't and I think when people are aware of those things, it's a good first step to build resilience.
I talk about my partner. My partner is really risk adverse. And this is probably why our portfolio, like we've got a huge portfolio that's under a 50% loan to value ratio, right, which is stupid. I can go to the banks and they'll give me 18 mil to buy more property, but I'm just like, effectively on it, I'd probably push the dial a little bit as well.
Yeah.
But the thing I say to her and like my friends and clients and stuff, nothing happens if it doesn't work out. Like if you've got a few friends, you'll have a couch to sleep on. Like you don't know anyone who's starving, living on the streets. Where most people suffer is where they try to hold on too long. Like they've got like kids and they've got a mortgage and like, oh, I can't lose this house. And the stress comes from there. But in reality, like if you've got some friends, life will be okay. Like you will have a roof over your heads, you'll have food. And that's like, and this may be the cool thing about, I don't like fine things. Don't like fine restaurants. I wear like same t-shirt, industry t-shirt as well. Like I don't dress nice. Yeah. I don't need anything. Like I've got food, like friends, like I'm probably okay. And that's most anxiety and the word resilience you're talking about comes from fear of like needing to do well. But if you kind of just strip that back and go, I don't need to actually do well. I want to do well. Let's give it a crack. The fear goes, and then you take risks as well. Like we'll talk about my course quickly. Like my social media team and everyone I knew was like, you are an idiot for doing this for free. Like, cause like every other buyer's agent was charging $6,000 a pop. I could have sold it to probably 200 people pretty easily. So do the maths, like $6,000 to 200, but nice little pretty penny. My argument in my head was like, I'm only going to be in front of 200 people then. And I'm going to have to do another sales process and graph to try to convince people that there's value in this. So I was like, no, stuff it. Like it cost me quite a lot to build. By the time I did the scripting, filming, there's probably 60, 70 grand there of like editing, filming, because it took me 2 weeks to film to get it done. So it was a big gamble. It's like, no, this is for free. 12,000 people in the first 3 months done it. So my mailing list just doubled just from just giving away for free. And then of that, there's probably been 50 to 100 clients that have came on board and pay me between 15 to 100 grand typically. And so it's like, that's right, long game. So I knew it was a long game, but everyone at the time was like, no, you need to charge us. And they were kind of like making me feel bad. Like, they're like, stop selling yourself short, Steve. You've got value. You've got to do it. And I actually felt like I was doing something wrong, but the whole time it's like, no, I want to give it away for free. How cool would it be to be like, when you're comparing courses, here you've got Steve, which is just as good, if not better than the other courses for free. And here's the other 4 you can choose. Like, would it feel good that they're going to look at that and be like, comparing my free one to all the other ones? It's almost going to diminish the competition. Anyone who's done the competitors' ones and done mine, as long as mine's better or the same value, they're going to be like, why'd I pay for that?
Yeah.
Let's just go free. So I get the goodwill then as well, which is one of the feedbacks I get online. Is just like, I can't believe how generous you are with the education. But again, I think that comes from engineering. I think it's like, engineers aren't notoriously sales based. They almost want to prove. It's like an arrogance, like a cockiness of like, look how much I know, look how smart I am.
Yeah.
I think there's that kind of part of it.
But you've turned value into an equation, actually, which I really like. You actually use your engineering brain and you say this comes from engineering anyway, the need for value, but you've turned value into an equation.
Yeah. And value's not money. That's the thing. Value is how you're giving the client. Whereas I think that's where most business owners really fall over. They're like, how do we get more money? No, how do you get more value? The money will generally lag behind by 6 to 12 months anyway.
Got you. I have to ask you about, because we did mention this in the start. Talk to us about the myth of passive income.
Theoretically, you can have assets that generate your income and you don't have to do much. So like, i.e. own properties, a bit of headaches with maintenance and stuff like that. Commercial's a bit easier because tenants kind of look after it. But getting to that point of passive income is not passive. Like, when people look at my portfolio and like, I've got a really good passive income, like a few hundred grand, they've not seen the 22-year-old kid to age 35-year-old Steve looking at property every night till 2 a.m. and then going to every property conference, reading every book. Like, people, my mates were like, oh, you're lucky Steve, you've got a passive income. I'm like, I was not passive, I just worked it. If you built your business and you had 50 staff and you could take holiday for 6 months and a business still turn up, would people call that a passive income? No, you've worked your bloody butt off at it. So it's the same thing. What are your thoughts? Because I think you hate the word. I think
it's it's less that I hate that word, and it's more like, it's probably because the secret or the promise that it sells. Yeah. It's kind of BS, and I think it devalues like the nature of work. And in this era of social media, like, people are pushing passive income in every industry, in every field, and part of what I've seen that happen, it's created like a unaligned expectation of what work is and what it results in. So one of the things I see all the time, like, too many young people jumping in to, like, create a business because they think it will. Like, it's so ironic. You're creating this business to create passive income, but you're actually quite active in it. I think for me that my biggest thing around it is, they say like, well, two things. I actually don't think doing something for the sake of money is actually sustainable. That's me personally.
You're spot on. So like, every time I've hired like a young person team, they all do the same thing. They go do like a get rich quick scheme effectively. That's right. Yeah. But you know this, no one has ever made lots of money from doing a light-hearted side hustle. Like, it becomes a business and then the problems move and stuff like that. The weird thing is the hard work is where you get the reward. Like, you kind of need, like, I'm proud of what I've accomplished because I know of how hard I've got it. If my dad had just given me $15 million, I'd be miserable. Like, and you say to people, like, no, if I had 50 million, I'd go travel the world. Cool. Yeah. I built my portfolio to the point, and I did go travel the world. And after 3 months, I was like, I'm bored. I need another challenge. It's why like
crying my
it's why like the trust fund kids and all that, they have lots of money. Here's one. So one of our clients, and this is actually a really cool story, and I'll probably something I'll do to my daughter. His dad gave him $10 million because he's like, I don't want to give it when I die and watch you ruin it. So I'm going to give you the $10 million, and this is why I bought lots of commercial properties through me. But I need to sign off on what you're doing with it. So it forced him to go out and like research, and then he read my book, and then he's obviously cancer. I think commercial, I want the passive.
He had like a board. He had almost like a board.
Right. So he posted, and then like got him a few commercial, got him a really good passive income. Went and traveled the world for a couple of years. And then I check in with him in a few months, and he's just like, this is just my normal life now of travel. I'm bored. So he'd been like Uganda, like wandering around and doing like all that stuff. And now he's come back and he's got a job, like, and he doesn't have to be. He's got a huge passive income. So you got to do the graft. It's like, I've just bought a principal place of residence. I'm more proud of that because I know how bloody hard I worked in the business and the investing to get there.
You said something before, which I don't want to lose. Like, the hard work has to be the reward. I know it sounds a little bit wanky, but it has to be. I almost feel like that woman, don't love your job you love, whatever. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, definitely not going down that path. No, it's the whole, like, it has to be, and I'll put a disclaimer there for a second. If it's just about the money, you really burn out really, really fast. Like, there has to be some reward in the work.
The money's got to represent something as well. The money's either got to be a destination of like, this is what I want. I dream of having this, and this is but again, the reward's going to come from the hard work. I was going to say, oh, that's not good. Cut, open again. I use the example of when I go to the gym. So if I'm on holidays and I've like just lounged around the pool for 3 days and then I have like a chicken schnitzel that night, I don't feel good about having the chicken schnitzel. You kind of just like, I'm done. But if I've gone to the gym for 2 hours and smashed myself, how good does the chicken schnitzel taste? And again, it's the hard work reward. So the same thing. That's why people get addicted to like doing marathons and stuff like that. It's bloody horrible. I run marathons, like they're horrible. But the feel good afterwards, like I've done that, is better than. So like you said, the hard work is the reward.
A quick question. Are you more on holidays sit by the beach or like go hiking?
Well, I love the beach, but it's got, my partner's an ultra runner.
Right. So you like to be active on holidays?
So we're like literally out of like a daughter a year old, and we're hiking up like Mount Fuji and stuff. Like we do crazy adventure stuff. Cool. Spent the weekend canyoning. So
that's cool. My last thing on this, and we can end it here. And I want to ask you one free advice question about property, is the whole thing around kind of going back to passive income and the whole, when you're young, you just want to, you see this stuff on social and you think you can, I feel like hate is a strong word, I guess, but the whole love, do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. I think that's complete BS.
Do you know anyone who, people say they love the job, but then you talk to them, they're like, oh, grafting, doing this hard work. Like, no, you have to do the boring stuff. You can love the outcome, but like, it's like, go work for a charity. You'll love the feel good of that. But the actual work of running a charity would be bloody horrible. Yeah. Like, it'd be a grind. So, you
still have to do bookkeeping and accounting. Like, when I sit down with our CFO, happens to be my wife, or my wife happens to be my CFO, and we actually have a really good working relationship together. Actually, people know how crazy I am, how chill she is. They don't understand how it works, but it works. Yeah. And I think you can kind of relate to that. But I hate looking at, like, every month or so, I have to look at reconciled reports, and I have to do that. And I hated it and I resisted it. And she said to me, and she's like, look, and this is where sometimes working with your wife is, she's like, look, you got to treat me like a CFO. Like, this is when I'm not your wife. Would you treat your employees like this? You just keep deferring this stuff. You need to do this stuff. And I'm like, okay, even though I hate the finance stuff, I have to respect this as a CEO responding to my CFO. Yeah. And now, like, I just make sure I'm not distracted. I've slept that night. It's early in the mornings, right? And I do it. But there's like firing people. I hate firing people. I'll never get used to that. Like,
I've only had to do it a couple of times, and like I feel like I'm going to vomit. Like, it makes this horrible. We'll bring that back to even like some of my books. People are like, oh, I want to write a book. For me, writing a book was a horrible experience. I've done 3 of them.
Oh, it sounds like anyone who's done it tells me it's...
The first one was literally Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night, 3-4 hours every single night. Like, literally have dinner, 7 p.m, like there till like 10, 11 o'clock writing. Like, it was horrible. And then when I like, oh my God, I've got to do this again for a second book. But the pride I had, like going to the Sydney airport and seeing my 3 books on the end bay, like, fuck, I did all right. Like, I did good. I don't think I would have got the same one. Here's another one. So like, I paid a ghostwriter on the 2nd and 3rd book. I dot pointed out, I still did. It was probably around the 3rd, the work.
Right.
So I dot pointed out, I'm still most proud about the first one that I wrote word for word. So even though they were all horrible experiences, the one I did the most horrible experience was the one I have the most pride.
So give me some free advice here. Like, say, and this is actually a complete true story, and hopefully it helps someone else. But if you're looking to get your first property and you're like, you know what, this stuff, because like for me, because you're a client of ours and work together, I'm like, look, I want to get a property, but I'm not going to do like, I'm not passionate about doing that research. You know what I mean? Like, how am I going to, like, to use your words, like avoid making a mistake? So where would I start? And actually specifically talk to someone who's actually thinking about using a buyer's agent, like in all honesty, because someone like me, you don't have to sell me on that concept. I don't want to do that homework. So what advice would you give to someone?
That's you. The problem is if this was a sales call, because it's a sales podcast, I'd be like, look, my fee is nothing compared to like what you're charging as well. You're better off focusing all that energy, the next 6 months of staying up every night looking at deals, just win another client or two and that'll pay for it. And that's where you'll make money, and let me kind of do what I'm doing. The hard part is where you get people that like still think they're an expert and they're kind of looking at night time like, oh, I can do this kind of thing. That's a bit of a harder. You kind of sell the almost insurance policy of like, I'll make sure you don't make a mistake. And then there's complete newbies who are just like, just get me a property. I know it's a good thing to do. But what was the actual question?
I guess what would you recommend to someone like me? Like, what should my first steps be?
Normally go talk to a mortgage broker. Like literally but make sure they're a good residential and commercial one. Residential, if you're just a normal employee. If you're a business owner, definitely talk to someone who understands commercial investing, because there's advantages.
When we say commercial investing, is it mortgage to invest in a commercial property?
Yeah.
Okay, not a resi.
Yeah, just because businesses that are profitable will have a lot more doors open up to commercial. The bottleneck, I'll give you a quick 2-minute spiel. So like residential and commercial both grow exactly the same. They both have like on average, the last 20-year average is 6 to 7% capital growth. Commercial has 3 times the income. So you get 3 times so then people go, well, why don't I just buy commercial? Like I'm getting same growth, 3 times income. The deposit requirements are different. You need minimum 20%, normally 30% for commercial. Whereas if you came to me and you're 20 years old, we're going residential because we can get 90% loans, even 100% loans if you've got bank guarantees and parental guarantees. So I'd rather go out and buy you 3 residential properties, even if they're negatively geared, versus 1 commercial. Because if I do get the same capital growth, you've made 3 times as much, which will then get us into the commercials and stuff later on. So like I said, it's kind of assessing like what you're trying to achieve, what time frame versus what you got to do with work with finance. So young person's probably got, let's say, $1 million residential capacity, but only 450 grand commercial. So like, why are we leaving money on the table? Business owner like you, this is why I said, like, if you're profitable business, you might actually be the same number. Then it's a bit more of an easy decision. Like, well, if we're getting the same number, let's maybe go commercial because we're getting passive income as well. I've had clients that come to me and they've got 0 residential capacity, but commercial has different lending options called lease stock loans. And they've had $2.4 million to go commercial. So who cares if they like resi? Let's go commercial. So it's just matching up. If you were 64 years old, what's the point of buying a negatively geared residential? So like I said, what you're trying to achieve, what time frame do we have to work with, what we've got to work with the finance. But the whole premise of property is this leverage. That's all it's like. I don't care about the bricks and mortar. It's literally the banks will give me a truckload of money to play with where I can magnify it. Word of warning, you can also lose a truckload of money because it's magnified. So that's the silver lining. But in the last 30 years, every single capital city has quadrupled in value. So you play the long game and you can survive the dips and the falls.
People still waiting for prices to come down. So
I've been doing this like 12, 13 years. Everyone's got an excuse at every single time. And they keep saying, oh, it's too unaffordable now. I'm like, we were saying that 10 years ago as well. Like, the numbers are scary at the moment. We've never had such an undersupply ever. Like, so you can keep saying the prices are going to burst, but it's in more demand than it's ever been. I'm not saying a bubble's not going to pop.
That's just a fact.
It's a fact, crazy. But yeah, undersupply is huge, and we're not building enough, and we've got too much immigration. I shouldn't say too much. I actually like immigration. But like, they've got so much immigration coming in that's not going to get better. So like, I think it's a pretty rock solid way to leave your money.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks for that. So find out your finances, see what you can get, and then someone like yourself can help.
Yeah. So we do like a little strategy and stuff like that. But just get educated first. Like this is what we're kind of talking about. You don't go to someone thinking that it's going to teach you on a sales call the way to get rich and stuff. Like, no one cares about your financial well-being as much as you do. So at least if you can cross off all the dodgy snakes and snake oil salesmen and stuff like that first by educating yourself, at least the person you're going to choose to help you will hopefully get you there.
Nice. And where can people find out about yourself, what you guys do? You mentioned your amazing socials and
Yeah, just paliseproperty.com, or just type in Steve Palise or Palise Property on social media horse. So should be on there somewhere.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve. Thanks for the free advice. I've definitely
Get the books for free, Palise Property, guys.
We'll link everything in the show notes. Thank you so much.
Cheers, man.
Thanks for listening to Inbound Buzz. Learn anything? Return the favor by spreading the word. Want to make your mark in digital? Need help with your digital strategy, inbound, and marketing automation efforts? Then visit redpandas.com.au and be sure to tune in next time for another Inbound Buzz hit.